Alright, so we're going to continue on with this project. We're again creating an ice cream shop. And where we left off last time, we drew a line right at the midpoint of this front edge. So you have to drag along with the line tool till you find the midpoint. And then we're drawing it just straight back. So there's just a little tiny line right on top of our trim. I'm sorry about the 3D printer in the background, so I'll try to talk over that. So now we have this reference point right in the middle of our trim there, and I'm going to be zooming in so we can focus on this specific area. And this tends to be a very difficult part of the project for some reason, I think because it's so small. But you might want to zoom in, and I've switched to the rectangle tool, and what I'm going to be doing is drawing a rectangle on top, so on this surface of the trim, not on the side, not on the wall, but on this very thin section right here on the front. So I'm going to click at the end point of my line to start my rectangle, and then I'm going to reference the back line across, going across there. So my rectangle is actually going to just follow along this line, and then as long as it's just still adjustable, I'm going to type in the specific measurement that I want. It's going to be 3 feet, so 3 apostrophe, and then a comma, 3 inches, so 3 and then the quotation mark, and then press enter. And because we're drawing a rectangle over what is already a rectangular shape, it's just adding another line over here exactly 3 feet away. And if you remember, our trim is actually 3 inches thick. So 3 feet by 3 inches just follows exactly along the trim and places another line over here 3 feet away. Now we're going to do it on the opposite side, and while I do this, let me just point out, if you start your rectangle and it's drawing it from like the middle instead of diagonally, at the bottom down here you can see the instructions that say Control equals toggle draw from center. So if you're drawing your rectangle from the center, you simply need to click Control. So this is what it would look like if it was drawing from the center. If you're getting that, you want to just press Control one time to make sure you're drawing it diagonally from one corner to the other corner. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now I'm going to type in 3 apostrophe for 3 feet, then a comma, 3 quotation mark for inches. 3 feet, 3 inches, enter. So now I have a 6 foot from one line to the other line, and I'm going to get rid of the dividing line here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my erase tool, and for the erase tool, the hot spot, or the part that actually does the erasing, is at the very tip. You can kind of see there on my mouse cursor. That is that little tiny spot right there at the end of the eraser is where you want to select your items to erase them. So I've erased that line, and the next step is to push pull. So using the push pull tool, I'm going to grab this 6 foot long rectangle on the top. I'm going to click it, click and release, remember, and then just drag your mouse down until you get to the bottom edge. And now I'm going to click one more time to basically push pull this down to 0 thickness. So it's basically just a surface area at the bottom now. Now to make this completely open, I'm going to use my erase tool one more time. Grab the erase tool, I'm going to erase the line at the front edge. So now I'm seeing grass right there where the trim used to be. So now I have an opening for my door. So the next thing I need to do is find my door, and for this we're going to actually use a resource that is in Sketchup. Somebody already made a door, so we're simply going to search for the door and then place it in our project. So this is slightly different from other versions of Sketchup. The new version looks a little bit different. So we're going to be finding what's called the, I think it's this here, 3D warehouse, which sounds very exciting. We're going to enter the 3D warehouse. So once you enter in here, it opens a new window, and we're going to search for some specific content. So I'm going to search for Sketchup for schools, and it's typed like this, Sketch, S-K-E-T-C-H. Make sure the U is capitalized, but there's no space. And then continue on for schools, plural, I believe, and then door, D-O-O-R. And then press enter. So in products, there's nothing there. So we're going to now switch over to models. And in the models category, you should see the very first result is what we want. Sketchup for schools door. So if you didn't get this result, make sure your spelling is correct. You can reference what I have up here. Sketchup with a capital U for schools, plural, and then door. If you don't spell it correctly, sometimes it does not come up with the correct door. So make sure you spell it correctly. I'm going to go ahead and select this door. Once I click on it, I'm given the option down below to download, but I don't know if I actually need to do that. Let's try it. See if I do download. Downloading model. Okay, now it's in my model. So those steps are a little bit different than other versions. The newest version of SketchUp looks different in this process of grabbing other people's materials. So let me go ahead. Now I have this door in here, and I'm going to simply line it up with the midpoint. To place it, I'm going to click there to place it, and there's my door. Now that I've done this one time successfully, I'm going to show you what might happen if your model looks a little bit differently. So I'm going to undo, let me go ahead and just grab it. I can grab it. I'm just going to copy it and move it over there. And I'm going to now just go to the other side for just a moment. And I'm not going to cut away the trim, but I'm going to show you what happens in a lot of scenarios if your model is drawn on a different plane. Your door, when you attach it, kind of looks like this. Kind of looks like it's disappearing into the wall. And that is because you have drawn your rectangle, your beginning of your building was drawn on a different quadrant. Here, let me just zoom out so you can see. So when you drew your rectangle originally, maybe your screen was oriented like this. So the front of your building is facing this way. Or maybe it was like this, and your building is over here. And so when you bring in the door, it's placing it basically where the back of the door is the front of the building, which sounds confusing. But I can show you quickly how to try to remedy this. So now what you'll need to do is orbit so you can see the bottom of the door. And we want to make sure that we're grabbing it at a spot that would be the back of the door. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure the place that it wants me to grab is at the front of the door. So I'm going to go ahead and try zooming in and grab along the back side of the door on the edge. If it won't allow you to reference that point, you may need to just hover around until you get it. So I'm going to try to click right there. It's very subtle, but it's at the back of the door instead of the front. So I've grabbed it right there on that edge. And let's see now if I place it now on this wall. It looks normal now. So it just happens to be the way that the door is designed. When you bring it into your model, it's expecting that it was drawn in this particular quadrant. So if you run into that problem, you need to simply place it somewhere randomly. Don't place it on the wall yet. And then you'll need to come in here and grab the back side of the door. So it's going to look a little bit different because it's drawn differently, but at least you'll be able to see the door and the trim, and it doesn't stick out as far on one side. Let me show you. So the correct orientation is like this. And you can see the trim is sticking out a little bit there. And then let me show you the other door on the other side. I did place it. Here we go. and the trim is not sticking out quite as far, but it's still there, so it's just slightly different. And for this project, that's good enough. If you wanted to get a little bit more advanced, you could rotate the door around and place it the correct way out. So let me show you that. This is just the extra, since this video is pretty short. I'm going to go to the rotate tool, and we'll use this tool a little bit later, and I'll explain more in detail how to use it, but for now I'm just going to quickly show you on this door how to change the orientation. So you want to make sure that it's facing downward. So by downward I mean flat like this, and it should be outlined in blue. So it kind of looks like a protractor. If you're having troubles getting it lined up, you can zoom in some more and make sure that you're referencing kind of a flat edge on the bottom. And for this to work, it doesn't really matter exactly where you place it as long as it's blue and it's on the bottom plane. I'm going to click anywhere to place the tool, and then I'm going to drag out. That's actually rotating already. So now you may need to click one more time and then start rotating, but basically we just need to flip this around 180 degrees. So I'm going to type 180 and then enter, and now we've flipped the door around, and I'm going to use the move tool to show you the difference. Now I'm going to reference this spot that it really wants to reference when I bring it in. So I'm going to click there, and I'm going to go ahead and orbit and place it right next to the other door so you can see the difference. See if I can zoom out a little bit. Oops. I don't know how to get rid of that. Grab it one more time. I'll just place it over here along this wall. And there you can see there's a subtle difference between the one side and the other, mainly with the trim. The handle and everything else looks the same, but this is the original way you want to place it if your drawing was correct, and this would be the modified version if you want to do that. But those are your options. You can either rotate the original around and place it, which takes an extra step, or try to grab it on the back edge of the door and then place it on your model, and then it will look more like this. So hopefully that goes well for you, and then we'll continue on in the next part.